about the people inside of your organization as you go on these journeys, and I see all different reactions for people when they hear of a digital transformation, depending on where they are in their own life cycle, right? Sometimes you've got people that are new into the organization, young in their careers, excited about all kinds of different change. And you have people maybe closer to my side, or the latter half, the twilight piece, that are intimidated by all of these things. And am I going to be able to keep up? Now, I have some wisdom and some experience I can bestow, but when you walk into an organization and think about the people and how you want them to evolve, progress, and cover gaps in areas that maybe are underdeveloped or didn't exist really in the way that they originally unfolded, how do you think about the people part, and what are strategies to think about upskilling people or bringing in outside resources, and people like us that are more consulting for finite versus longer term? Just what do you think about the people? I know that's kind of been an area of your kind of personal attention and focus.
Yeah, so I think a really important part is, it's one of the terms that you're here as you're doing like leadership training, coaching versus cheerleading. Well, when you're talking about digital transformation, you really are talking about the cheerleading part of your job as a leader. You have got to sell the people above you on what the great benefits of this new transformation, maybe even the cost that the new transformation is going to incur, and how it's going to make your organization better. You've got to do the same thing with your people. You might have some that are, we're reluctant to change. So you have to motivate them too, that no, we've been to the sales calls, we've seen the service. This is really going to make a difference in our organization for the better. So it's important to not only hire people that have that positive outlook from the get-go, but if you've inherited an IT department, it's also important to be the cheerleader and get them to move forward. Just really quick, I'll share kind of outside of being a leader, but being an IT leader, not just of a department, but for an organization. We made the move to Office 365, and I knew Teams was going to be better for the organization. So of course there was a lot of pushback, and you have to just know in your heart what's right and pull the trigger on it. And it went from getting emails. I could literally show you an email where the first one after we went live was, "This is awful. I hate this. Why couldn't we just keep the product we were on?" to about 2 or 3 months later getting an email that said, I love Teams. I don't know how we ever operated without it. And so it's a lot of times you want to cheerlead and you want to get everybody to buy in, but at the same time, if you know that it's the right decision for your organization, there's those moments you are just going to have to grab the bull by the horns and drive that innovation and change in your organization.
Great points. So Bob, you've also been through all kinds of different experiences there. Maybe one that sticks out in your mind, and also just what's your general philosophy been on how to handle upskilling talent and getting them encouraged and
it's a continuing effort, similar to the rest of a transformation. Upskilling or reskilling is a constant. It needs to be a constant focus, and everyone, myself included, right, needs to look at our skill sets, because what you did 10 years ago probably doesn't apply, anymore to some of these things. And by the way, Jeremiah, I had 2 2003 servers. I know exactly where you're coming from there. But part of it is likewise, where we talked a little bit about the technology debt and doing the inventory. That roadmap that you determine will also determine what skills you need. Okay. And again, at a nonprofit level, you can't necessarily afford all those skills, right? So I think I may have mentioned it to Kishore in the past, or others in the past, that nonprofits have the same challenges that everyone else has. They want to play in the same space. They want to provide the same services. The difference is, they have champagne taste and tap water budget, right? So it's, they're trying to do these things, and you have to sometimes make a decision that we can't have these skills in-house, and we'll tap into external providers like, like what Keyshore provides and Pronix and others, provide that make specialized. Because once you get those skills or those technologies in-house, you want to optimize them. And if you don't have the right people and, or you haven't been able to coach them or cheerlead people to coming into those roles in a timely fashion, then you need to look externally. And it's okay, because at least in my situation, we made the choice to say, we can't afford to have some of these skills because it's a very competitive market. And if we invest in someone, and not to say that we wouldn't, but if you invest in someone and then all of a sudden they leave, you have this, sucking sound of them going out the door. Still, not saying that we don't want to invest in people. We absolutely do want to, upskill them, and because they have domain knowledge that's critical to the organization. Right. But, some of these things that are just very, we don't have a lot of, I'll just use like, firewalls as an example. It makes sense sometimes to use a managed provider to focus on that and then reskill some of the current team to things that are more in our core competencies or in our areas of concern, and train them and leverage them to support those functions, and let someone else that's a specialist handle these one-offs really.